What's up, everybody? I'm Jonathan. Welcome to Yacht Feast. Today, we're going to be going through every Will Wight book, at least every one that I'm aware of. Maybe there's others out there. I don't think so. So, I have read all of these books, some more than others. But as you can see, I have already got these sorted. These are in the same position as they were in the other video. You can go check that out. This is me ranking the Cradle series. But I was like, well, I haven't added book 12 in, and I haven't done all the others. And I was talking to one of the guys that I work with, and I've gotten him and another dude to go through a bunch of Will Wight books. And so we were just talking about them. And I was like, man, I should probably just rank a bunch of these because I got a lot to talk about. Got a lot to say on this issue. So, first, if you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I sometimes do videos, and I live stream at least once a week, probably sometimes. But yeah, I talk about anything, everything nerdy. So, and I play video games too. So, all right, here we go. So this is my stuff here. I was surprised now looking back that I put Soulsmith so far down. This is the introduction of Ethan. Like, I don't know, it's just weird that I would put that one so low. When I'm reading book one, I'm always looking forward to Ethan showing up. So I don't know what I was doing there. But yeah. Anyways, I'm just going to leave it. It's good enough. It probably is. I probably do enjoy Uncrowned better, even though I feel like Winter Steel is not as good a book. Anyways, you can go watch that video and check that out. All right. So Waybound. I have done my review of Waybound. I haven't really given much thought as to where I'd rank it on here, so let's do it now. Things that I like about Waybound. I think there's a lot of good endings, but I do think that Bloodline, which is in my S tier, is actually a better ending than Waybound is. There's just a lot of loose ties that aren't fulfilled. We kind of have like this setting up of Lyndon's crew as like a better version of the Abaddon team leaders, or whatever you want to call them, the judges. Like the Lyndon's crew kind of seems to be a better version and posed to take over as a better version of those judges. I should say there's spoilers in this for all of these books, because I'm just going to talk about that. There are things I didn't like about this book, though. I just felt like the whole book was hurry up and wait. There were a lot of threads that I thought did get tied really well. But yeah, I did a whole review on it. So I would put this one, I think, before Uncrowned, but after the first book. So I think it does end well with from Unsold, but it's not so much that I think that it beats it. I think I like Unsold a little bit better. There's just a lot more action going on in Unsold. Lyndon basically spends this whole book standing around defending the area. I'm just like, okay. But I do think I like it better than Uncrowned. I enjoyed Uncrowned. Like, this is a very exciting book, unlike Winter Steel. This is a very exciting book, but like because of some of the connections and like the final conclusions of a lot of ties, I'm gonna put it there. I think that's where I'm gonna keep it. I might change my mind later on, but like I can't believe I put Soulsmith so low. But anyways, all right. So that's Cradle taken care of. Now let me put it this way: I don't hate any of these books. All of these books, I do love all of them. But for the sake of gradation, some of them are better than others. Winter Steel is my least favorite Cradle book, and I'm always trudging along when I'm reading it. It is not my favorite. I think it's a mess. We'll just put it that way. but I still like the book. There's a lot of great things that happen in this book. So when I'm talking about these down here, I think the same thing. Um, well, okay, there are exceptions. All right, we'll get into it. All right, House of Blades. This was, I believe, Will Wight's first series. All right, so I just call it the House of Blades series, even though I think it's like the Traveler's Gate series. But for me, it's the House of Blades series. That's just the only way I remember it. All right, so we got House of Blades, Crimson Vault, and City of Light. All right, so House of Blades. This is going to show you what I think of this whole series. House of Blades goes here. It's on the bottom. The main characters are just boring. And it's hard for me to go back and read House of Blades and think this is the same author who wrote Cradle. Like, Cradle is my favorite modern fantasy series right now. Like, written in the last 50 years, it's my favorite. I still like Narnia and Lord of the Rings better, but for modern, it's Cradle's my favorite. Even better than Brandon Sanderson. But House of Blades just is so rough. The main characters, I just can't stand them. I don't even remember their names. That's how bad it is. And I literally was talking about House of Blades with all of their names last week. I should remember. I've only read this series once, and there's some great things in this series. So one of the things I like, I think the House of Blades itself is really interesting. I love the dolls. And here's what I'll say. The side characters that are not the main characters are about 1,000 times better than the three main characters. And so, can we see those? Are they all three? No. So this is the main guy. I cannot remember his name. I'm telling you, it's bad. Oh, that's one of the dolls. I didn't even notice. Like, he has no motivation, and he just kind of goes with the flow, and like, I don't mind that per se, but it's just like there are things that would make sense for the character in the development of the story that just don't make any sense. Like, why would you choose this? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. What makes up for this book is when Kai comes in. I remember his name because he's awesome. And when you meet all the dolls, and the House of Blades itself is a lot of fun. So a lot of the side characters are really great in this book. So I can't put it over Winter Steel. I'd rather read Winter Steel, but yeah, it's definitely not as good as any of the Cradle books. But there are some good qualities of this book, but as far as this group goes, it's the worst book. All right, so next we have Crimson Vault, and then we have this girl, and she is the second main character. I think that could be the Incarnate. I don't remember, but I think that's the main girl from the series. And Crimson Vault, I'm just gonna say, I'll just go ahead and say it now. Crimson Vault is the worst book I've ever read from Will Wight. It's not just me. All the friends that I know who have read this book, like, all of us have wanted to quit reading the series because of this book. It's just so boring. It just drags on, and I'm just like, can we get on with this? Like, if we hadn't persevered through, we wouldn't have gotten to City of Light. But there's a few, like, I don't remember what. I've only read this series once. That I'll just tell you now, and this is the reason why. This book right here, it's just so boring. The main three characters have little to no enjoyment. The main guy, whatever his name is, he's so unmemorable to me that I don't remember his name. And like, I do not like the girl. Like, I have a hard time with Jerry in this series. Remember, I can remember her name, although I don't remember some of the other names. I'm really bad with names. We'll just put it that way. I do not like this girl. This girl is supposed to be like the love interest, I guess. But dude, I can't stand her. I cannot stand her. And in this book, it's worse because she doesn't show up much in this one, but she's a lot more active in this book. And I'm just like, dude, no thanks. All right, so I'm gonna put it there. That's all I gotta say about that. I do not like this book. It might be the one exception to books written by Will Wight that I don't like. There are parts that I do like in it. I love the dolls. I don't remember if it's this one, like which book it is, but there's this little girl who shows up and joins the House of Blades, and she is awesome. As well as like there's this soldier who's kind of an enemy, who like he has like this redemption, and he's really great. Kai is amazing. All these side characters are just so well written. Like I think it's worth reading this series at least once, even if you have to get through this one, just to get to know some of these side characters. The main three characters, they're kind of lame and boring, but those side characters, man, they are awesome. So, all right, and then we got City of Light, and this is our third protagonist, whatever his name is. I never remember. Again, I read this series once, and it was a pain to get through. And I'm just gonna say I put it here. It's better than the second one, but it's not as good as the first. This one's a lot more action filled. There's a lot more at stake. It seems like it just feels more purpose filled. I like the ending. I like the story, the overall story. You get to know more of the characters even more. Some of the characters that were talked about in the first two, you get to meet them. It's really great. It's really sad that these two are weighed down by this, and really the whole series is sad that it's weighed down by just these three characters that are just so boring. At least to me. If I'm like crushing you on your favorite book series, I apologize. I could not do it. So that's my thoughts on that. Got that one out of the way. All right. So then we have of Sea and Shadow, or of Shadow and Sea. I don't know what order you read this in, but I call this the Captain and Assassin series because I can never remember the Elder series. So basically, if you've never read it, it goes of Sea and Shadow, of Dawn and Darkness, of Kings and Killers. Or you could read the other trilogy, which is of Shadow and Sea, of Darkness and Dawn, of Killers and Kings. And you can read this trilogy first, or you could read this trilogy first, or you could do what I did, which is book 1, book 1, book 2, book 2, book 3, book 3, because they're parallel trilogies, which I thought was a really interesting concept. Of Sea and Shadow, I love this book. This book is so good. I really enjoy like the seafaring captain with the magic side. The magic is fairly interesting. It's not my favorite magic type, but it kind of feels like a mix of like medieval fantasy with a sea captain mixed with like Greek gods. So it's kind of got like these three different ideas kind of combined together, and I really like it. I think it works really well, and that's basically the whole series. But the Captain trilogy follows a ship captain, and his journeys, and then he crosses paths with the Assassin trilogy. The what is her name? Shasta? It's not Shasta, is it? I don't remember. And I know his starts with a C. I don't remember. Yeah, I'm really bad with names, but I remember more about this series than I do about this series because I haven't actually read this one twice, but it's just a lot more interesting. So we'll go in the order that I read them. All right, so Sea and Shadow. I like I said, I love this book. I loved the seafaring side of this. You know, I thought that was really fun. The magic system was interesting. All of the ship crew on the ship were extremely interesting. I just all of them worked really well together. A couple of them I think got muddled for me in the first book. Like it was hard to tell the difference between a couple of the crew members, but by the time I got to the second and third, it was a lot easier to distinguish. But in but the main guy, whatever his name is, I don't remember. Like I said, I'm bad with names. He was great. Jerry, I really liked her in this book. I remember Jerry's name. We'll get into that. There are spoilers in this, but not too many. I'll try to keep it somewhat spoiler free. All right, so this book, it's not, I think I would put this up here. So let's move these two down. We might need extra room up here. We'll see. Okay, so that's where I'd put it. It's not as good as these Cradle books, but it's right behind Unsold. It's definitely better than these Cradle books for me. All right, so Shadow and Sea. So each book has like the two words reversed, so you know which one if Shadow is first, you know it's the assassin. If Sea is first, it's the captain. I was not sure what to think about this book before I read it. I was like, I don't know. Like, I've met the protagonist. I don't really care for her. And then I read it. I was like, okay, like, that's interesting. I was wondering how he was going to have, like, this parallel story. Because when I read the first one, I felt like I had really read all of the story. I was like, well, how am I going to enjoy this if I already know how it ends? But I think he does a good job with it. It was not exactly how I expected, but I thought it was really good. But I don't think this is the best of her trilogy. I think her character is a little difficult to develop. That's not what I want to say. Her character isn't quite on point in the first book, I don't think. Like, they have this, like, running joke that she's always trying to sleep. And so she has, like, this cutesy anime-esque style where she's always sleeping or whatever. And in the first book, it was pretty grating. But her origin story was really good. And when she, like, was fighting, and all of the action scenes were really good. And again, a lot of the side characters are really good in this, too. So it's not as good. I actually think this is the worst of the trilogy. But I still enjoyed it. We'll put it that way. I still enjoyed it. So I think I actually am going to put this below Winter Steel. Because I still enjoy Winter Steel. There's some great things about it. But I think this is the weakest of that trilogy for my taste. All right. So book 2 of The Sea Captain. Dawn and Darkness. So things start really getting heated up. You've met the parallel character. Some things about Jerry have been revealed. And there's a really interesting storyline in this one. I think I really enjoyed this one. I thought that was a really great build-up from the first one. Though, one of the things I loved about the first one is that you just felt like you're exploring the unknown. Whereas in this one, there's a little more politics going on because the guilds are kind of getting are starting to get go to war, if I remember correctly, and so there's a lot more like debating the politics of it, and and so I think that's fine. But there's only a few times where they go. There's not as much exploring the place, the world, which is what I loved about the first one. The first one, they're just sailing through the sea, and you get to see what the world is like, and they do that a little bit in this book too. I mean, they do it a fair bit in this book, but it's not quite as much. You do get to learn more and more about the characters, which I think balances it out a good bit. So I'm not going to put it on the same level as this. I think what I'll do is put it below Soul. Soulsmith. I think that's where I will put it. So I like this book better. But I do love this book. It's really good. It's just not quite to the same level as this. Like I said, all of this up here are very, very close. Like if we're talking about like a regular list with other books involved, I'd probably just put these as one. Like you have A1 and A2, and then of course these are S. And this is definitely still C. So there's a good gap between this and this. All right. Dawn and Darkness, or Darkness and Dawn. This book is so much better than the first one, I thought. There's a lot more action. You get to know the characters a lot more. There's a little bit more interaction with the others. This one works really well, I think, with the politics of the series. You get to see how massively strong the three characters for this group of the assassin group are. And man, there's just some really great tension in this book. So this book far outshines this book, I think. And so I really enjoyed it. Here's what I'd say. I think the second book is actually better on her side than his side. I still probably would enjoy this better because I just like the Sea Captain better than Assassin stories, but I think this one's just a little bit better written story-wise. That's my take. Hot takes coming in. Her side handles the politics a lot better. You learn some different things on this side, and as much as I like the characters in this one better, the story I felt was better on this. So this one is still my favorite so far. But yeah, that's how I'd go. So this is a fair distance above this one, I thought. All right, of Kings and Killers. So this is my least favorite of the Captain series. And the reason why is because he doesn't spend barely any time on the ocean. It's all politics. And there's a lot of really great stuff. And some great battles that are really fun. But like he even mourns the fact that he's not really a captain anymore. Like he hasn't even been with his ship in a while. And I felt that as a reader. I was like, one of the things I loved about this book is that he's on the ocean as a sea captain. But now, because of the politics, he's stuck on land for so much of the book. Even though there's so many great things, and there's a special character from Cradle that shows up in this book. That I won't spoil. There's a character that shows up in this book, and like all of that just is still weighed down by the fact that the seafaring captain is no longer on his ship, and so he does get on his ship, but it's not much, and that means some of the side characters that I loved, they're not as prominent in this book. Now, there are other characters that are developed a lot, like the guild heads, and there's a couple that I really like in this book that really get developed well in this book. You start to like, okay, I actually like this character a lot. So I am glad we got that part. But the main characters, we learn a little bit about them. But they don't really do as much in this book because they're not at sea. And yeah, so this is the weakest, I think, of the three, even though I think the story is still really good. So I will put this one, I think it's going to be above Shadow. And we'll go right there. So also, I did not like how things ended with Jerry. And maybe that's just because I like a happy ending. That's as much as I'll say. I like a happy ending, and it wasn't a happy ending with her. So that's all I'll say. I won't say much more than that, but I wasn't happy with how that resolved. All right, Killers and Kings. So, um, this book, um, I felt like this one was not quite as good as Of Darkness and Dawn. Now, I should probably I plan on rereading this series at some point. I'll probably re go through Cradle. I mean, I listen on Audible, so it's reread. I don't think this one is as good as this one. But it is cool to see like the opposite of this book. And so, I know we're going a little quickly here. I'm gonna put this here. These two books are like right beside each other. And actually, I'm gonna flip them. Even though I generally like the Captain series better, I actually am gonna do that way. I think it's this book that really drags the Assassin, and I'm not really a big Assassin storyline fan. I much prefer Captain. I think just how much great this book is really makes me like this trilogy better. And this book is not bad. It's just not great. Oh, I have Winter Steel here. Okay, I've been misdoing this. Here we go. We're going to put all these kind of right beside each other. There we go. So that's how I do it. Okay, sorry. Got to remember where Winter Steel is in this. It's not my least favorite Will Wight book. That is this book. But it is pretty far down. It's a good book. It's just not as good as that book or these three. These are really close. Anyways, so there's a lot of great developments in here. I think this side of the story was better than this side of the story. It was more exciting. Again, I think the assassin side of it actually does the politics better, which is probably one of the problems with this one is just you don't really get into the politics of it all. At least that's my thought. A lot of the political drama really shines in these two books. Even though I probably enjoyed this one better than this one, just because I like the theme, I do think this is a better written, if I remember right. They're going to be like a knife edge between the two, and the same here. So I like these better than these, but there's like a knife's edge between them. They're right beside each other. I just think this one edges slightly out over this one, because this one really gets dragged down mainly by the fact that he's not on a ship anymore. At least not very often. Alright, so last we have the Captain. So this is a completely different series. And I'll tell you, I put this one off for a long time. I was like, I don't really want to read this book. I don't know. Just, I mean, Will Wight's been writing fantasy. I like fantasy. I like sci-fi too. I really do. It's just, I wasn't in the mood for a sci-fi show. And as soon as I read it, I was like, why did I wait on this? It's so good. All right. So this is going to sound crazy, but this book is right there. I love the Captain. It kind of feels like a mix between Harry Potter and Star Trek. I love Harry Potter and I love Star Trek. So you put those two together and I'm like, wow, this is awesome. Dude, this is a great book. It also kind of reminds me of Brandon Sanderson's was it Starsight series, which is a really fun sci-fi adventure as well, which I think the new one's out by now. I need to read that last book, the fourth one I think it is. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I need to go check. I keep reminding myself. Anyways, that's Sanderson. That's not Will Wight. I love this book. This is a lot of fun. I wasn't sure how the magic would work, but he does a really good job at making the sci-fi feel like a fantasy. I like the main character. Don't remember his name. I only read it once. But yeah, it's really good. So as far as series go, Cradle is my favorite. The Captain is my second favorite. The Captain Assassin series is my third favorite, with the Captain being my over the Assassin. Captain trilogy over Assassin trilogy, however you want to say it. So Cradle gets 1, Captain gets 2, Elder Empire gets 3, and then way down here is House of Blades, the Traveler's Gate. Again, I would not mind a rewrite of this trilogy. There's so much good that went into this that I feel like if he rewrote it a little bit, made the characters a little more personal, I think it would be a phenomenal series. The ideas are there in the House of Blades, but it just didn't come out in the book. And so there's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Where do you rank these books? Have you read all of them? Are there more by the time by the time you watch this? I don't know. How do you rank it? At least rank the major 3 series. How do you put Cradle, Elder Empire, the Traveler's Gate, and then what is the Captain called? It's the Last Horizon. Yeah, I'm never gonna remember that. It's gonna be the Captain series for me. Anyways, how do you rank those different series? I'm curious. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you made it this far, I appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy Will Wight. If you haven't read these, I recommend all of them. Just be aware that this is going to be a tough one to read through, but it's worth it in the end, I think. So I'll catch you next time. Peace.